how do you, like, what kind of ritual or habits do you have to make sure that you're able to like critically think about what kind of feedback you can give to a person to actually get them to level up? Because I find that it's not maybe super obvious things, but they're more things that you have to really, really think about.
Yeah. First and foremost, the most important thing to remember, feedback is bidirectional, right? Usually as managers, you always assume that you're the one who should be giving feedback, but you should be taking feedback equally, right? Make it a habit within your organization. I think it's super, super important, especially nowadays. A lot of managers forget that, right? They usually tend to give feedback in a single direction and are not open to receiving feedback from the team. This also makes it easier for you to give feedback because you're asking feedback. Right. And I use this strategy a lot when I'm giving feedback. I usually start off with, hey, do you have any specific feedback for me? Right. And then, obviously the person I'm talking to will turn around and say, hey, Raj, do you have any feedback for me? And then that's my opportunity to, give feedback. So
It's gonna
using
it's gonna be like, it's funny you asked that. As a matter of fact, I do.
that. and so that's the first thing to remember, that feedbacks are usually bidirectional. A lot of people forget that. Number two is I usually don't give feedback just like at a whim, right? Because I'm worried about that I'm going to send wrong signals to my team or to the people who is working for me. I usually do pattern matching, right? To your point, like in a meeting, like certain behavior one time doesn't necessarily need feedback, but there needs to be a consistent pattern you see and you hear it. I also validate with other people in my team just to make sure that I'm getting the right feedback, right? So you have to be very thoughtful. The second thing to remember, you have to be very thoughtful when you give feedback, because you can send that person in a wrong direction. So it's important that you do pattern matching when you give feedback. I always tell my team, like peer feedback, for example, right? I'm like, oh, this person X said something. And I was like, okay, did you hear the same feedback coming from Y or Z? If you don't hear the same feedback coming from Y or Z, this is like a one-time thing. You don't need to focus on it, right? So there is a lot of noise in the feedback. So you need to make sure that you get to the crux, the most important stuff for your team. And that's your job as a manager, as a leader, to do that.
Yeah. And so some of this stuff is maybe correctional. It might be, for example, you did this, maybe like it should have been approached differently, but some of this stuff is maybe a little bit more aspirational in the
Right.
sense of like, in order for you to level up to the next
Yeah.
level leader or the next level, role that you have, here's some feedback to help you do that. I find that is particularly harder to do. And, part of it is if you have seen, for example, someone else operate at a higher level, like you said, the pattern matching can say, well, I've seen others who've been in this role do these sorts of things that maybe, you're not quite there yet. Um, are there any things that you've done, like when you're trying to help someone level up to the next level? And if you yourself haven't necessarily seen what that next level looks like, are there any tips or tricks that you have in order to kind of give yourself that benchmark so you know what kind of developmental or aspirational
Yeah.
feedback to give?
Yeah. So one of the things I usually do when I go into a new organization, when I'm running a new team, right? I set the baseline, like how important feedback is. And I use this example with myself as a person. There were times in my career where I got feedback and I completely ignored it. And majority of my career growth has come from the fact that I have listened to feedback. Once, there was a certain time in my career it flipped, and I was like, okay, this is the feedback I need to incorporate, right? And I've seen my career trajectory just take off as soon as I started listening to feedback coming from different parts of the organization. And it's not just, upward feedback, but downward feedback as well, like coming from your team, right? So I start out with that baseline and I make sure that my team knows that feedback is a gift, right? Usually you'll see, and even I did this at some point, in my career as well, like people ignore the feedback. People don't take the feedback seriously. I have this rule of three. Like if I give you the feedback 3 times and you're not listening, because I will be thoughtful in giving feedback. And if I give you the feedback 3 times in a row and you haven't taken action against it, that means you're not listening to feedback. And then I need to have a deeper conversation with you, right? So I think you will become stagnant as well. I feel that's what I tell my team. Like, hey, if I'm giving you feedback and you're not listening, then hey, it's your career. It's like I'm trying to help you be successful. Right. So I think setting the baseline that, hey, how this feedback has helped me grow as a person, because I were in their shoes at one point in time. I was a PMM as well, right? I was part of an organization. And the only way I've grown in my career is by listening to feedback. And I set that, kind of foundation in place with my team. So my team understands that this is something which I rely on. And then I am also very much dependent on our organization being successful based on how my team takes feedback.